Good evening. Welcome to Yale Center Beijing. My name is Peter Wen. I'm the Associate Director for the Yale Center Beijing. And alongside with me today is my colleague Yang Liu, who is also Associate Director for Communication at Yale Center Beijing, and also, at the front desk at the check-in table, which is Siyu Wang, who is also actually a Yale alumni, graduated from 2023. And also we have an IT support from Wei Xun, who is also going to support us on the IT stuff. So on behalf of the whole team of the Yale Center Beijing, we welcome you to Yale Center Beijing. So a quick, brief introduction. Yale Center Beijing actually established in 2014, so this is our 12th year. We are serving for Yale's 14th school as a university embassy here in China, and also an activity center in Beijing as well. So again, welcome. So I'm going to pass microphone to our partner today, Alan from RSBJ, for a brief introduction and welcome remark as well. So, Alan?
Thank you very much, Peter. And for those of us who are from RSBJ, I may speak on your behalf to thank Yale very profoundly for making the facility available to us and being so helpful in making all the arrangements. Thank you very much indeed. We seem to have had a very happy collaboration. So the event today, I think everybody around the table would agree that we're living in some pretty challenging times. And amongst those challenges are apparent collapse in general morality, a very, very cutthroat situation in most markets, particularly in China, and the arrival of AI. All these three things are something that is happening on a scale that nobody had imagined before. And we're very lucky to have with us two people who can help at least outline the issues and perhaps provide some solutions. They come from, I might say, opposite ends of a spectrum, though they both represent together the two major belief systems that most of us in this room share. The belief system in the East, centered perhaps mainly on Confucianism, and in the West, centered mainly on Christianity. And I think it'll be fascinating to see how these two different points of view express the challenges that we're meeting. So please, I'll first ask Victor. Victor, I may mention, is a leading Zhejiang businessman. And if you know anything about China, you know that that means he is one of the top businessmen in China. Stephan has been educated in the greatest religious ethics schools in the West, and so he brings that very special expertise also. So Victor will maybe talk for maybe 15, 20 minutes, followed by Stephan, and then there will be time for questions. So, Victor, over to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Good evening, everyone. It's a really great pleasure for me to today have a dialogue with Stephan. I'm a much more just like from practical perspective and a Chinese perspective. Over the past 40 years, I really mainly is doing business and a few years in the school. To me, today is really we're facing a new challenge. We're trying to explore a new, we call unique intersection. That is the ancient wisdom of Confucianism and the cut age, particularly the world of artificial intelligence. Is probably everybody experienced that AI accelerates competition to unprecedented level. We are facing a great new challenges which may not come across before. So today I try to really introduce a specific framework based on the Confucian's virtues to navigate these new challenges, and meanwhile whether we can possible to foster what we call harmonious competition. So this is a very big topic, but I try to really focus on the key 5 we call constant virtues. Briefly, today, in sense, our core idea try to really simple, but yet powerful. That's ancient Confucius virtues are not the relics of the past, In fact, it's a very practical toolkit for AI agents. We will try to explore how these virtues can help us resolve the business conflicts and also more effectively and guide AI transition responsibly. The key takeaway, really, we can integrate these values. It's not just an ethical issue, a choice. In fact, it's a strategic one, build trust and a sustainable competitive age. So here, in our Chinese, really Confucius values, it is critical for us how we can overcome such a core challenges. That is nowadays in China, everywhere it's called the cutthroat. Particularly nowadays, the AI landscape. You will see in China so many AI models today and tomorrow on the way on the lines. So in such a rapid advancement of AI, that's really bring us incredible business opportunity, but also feels intense conflicts, creates ethical really dilemmas, and even erode the mutual trust. So this leaves us at a critical question: how can we really embrace AI power without falling victim to darker potentials? And meanwhile, this how we can really is a central problem aiming to address it. So this is the chart we are thinking to do. As Confucian values, there's a wide range of we call papers and seminars take place in China, but mainly try to focus on the 5 key we call constant virtues, typically to achieve harmony. Probably everybody you know that Chinese real Confucian value is trying to achieve the harmony in the society. Typically, there's a set of rules and rituals to make sure governing the behavior of every party involved. So this is really not going to eliminate competition. In fact, try to make the competition constructive. So we mainly, in the Confucian values, were 5 key consonant virtues: benevolence, righteousness, and propriety, and wisdom, as well as the integrity. So we can see that these abstract real concepts, how can we really make a practical tool for governing our AI, as well as our conflict resolution? So to me, it is a very difficult and challenging job to cover in such a short time. But you can say that in Chinese, every people in the Chinese culture know very well about the 仁义礼智信. That's really the first point. Meanwhile, what we try to do, I try to really to cover the 5 key consonant virtues, how to integrate this AI governance. So this first really is about we call the righteousness. First is the benevolence. The benevolence is really we could try to prioritize the well-being of all the party involved, not really as a one-party win. The traditional conflict resolution often ignores broad, we call ecosystem. With AI, we can run up to map the impact of decision on all stakeholders, from employee to communities or even supply chain or parties. So what we try to do was try to use and apply benevolence, try to reduction to reduce the harm. So such a mindset we can really practice in our real life. So we can traditionally try to shift from the traditional or even sometimes a battle to a much more relational solution. So this is really try to maintain such a key area of harm reduction. The second is real righteousness. The righteousness, of course, we have to know is setting red lines. That is profit cannot cross. Sometimes, yes, it's profitable, but not necessarily is the right things to do. So in our business community, often we are facing such a dilemma. But most of the business community will try to pursue the profits always first. But so sometimes this gives really we as a business people think about our 良知, that's what the conscience is. We have to be sure and judge what is right, what is wrong. So sometimes we have to establish such a non-negotiable boundary, so to apply righteousness filter to all decisions. Sometimes we have to invite an independent, we call ethical committee to enforce these standards. This is also not only will protect our company reputation, but also social license to operate to maintain sustainability. When we talk about after that's really benevolence and then righteousness, much more important practically is the, we call the propriety. This is really about a structured process, a digital righteous to manage the disputes. Sometimes unstructured process quite often leads chaos. I think nowadays in the United States or Donald Trump is really not leading to the war, the chaos. It is really, nobody knows what is really structured process. People give us very difficult to predict what will happen. This is what similar happens in our AI era times. So by formalized step-by-step mediation process or embed it into an AI-supported workflows, we can create and forecast what happens in future next time. Meantime, we can really establish a mutual trust. So this will be reduce emotional escalation and keep everyone focused on finding a solution. After this Li, more run also what is the wisdom? The wisdom, of course, not really looking for short term at this moment. We really have to beyond the short term, we have to show the long term. Today, sometimes a win-lose, today can become really lose-lose tomorrow. A lot of cases, when I really dealing with Westerners, either always using zero-sum game. Once you have a zero-sum game, the other party loses. They will find a way to take revenge. So there's a vicious circle going on. So that's really what happens. Nowadays, AI can really give a very powerful tool for wisdom by simulating all different possible long-term outcomes. So that model can be really impact in future, like a short-term, what the game we made, at the same time, company reputation, and meanwhile, all those intangible assets. So this will help our decision makers see a big picture and choosing sustainable and a win-win solution for our business community. So after this, really, we call their wisdom, but is the fifth really virtue is the integrity. The integrity, of course, without trust, sometimes it seems to be all the parties a fairest outcome agreement has been achieved, but it's proving its meaningless because the other party, because in the black box, the information not shared by both parties, this is causing the suspicions. So a lot of times, the trust we built is not easy, but could be destroyed. So in future, AI reports and even some of all these the trails for auditor can be also explainable or even verifiable. So such as transparency and reliability, that will form the foundation of really stable business relationship, particularly in the competitive environment. So I very briefly cover the 5 constant virtues. For the first part, this is really how we can explore the conflict resolution. The conflict resolution is the first point, as I mentioned that. This new challenger started first is conflicts of interest. So once we resolve the conflict of interest, then how we can go to AI really transitions. So next, really the level part, I'm trying to really shift how we can really from the AI transition to a harmonious competition. Sometimes really is our intense competition getting worse and worse. But the getting worse in competition does not mean really we cannot achieve harmony. So it is really we try to build a framework for respecting and share the rules. That's the key. So the goal is try to win through innovation rather through exploitation. So companies sometimes foster this competing on value, establishing real industry codes of conduct, even embracing co-opetitions. Okay, so sometimes collaboration will really benefit everyone, and they try to really like fighting cyber threats together. So I think this will be a healthy market for all to go. Then to make this real, of course, we need to align really corporate AI governance with the Confucian, we call the value. So this means we need to really beyond the basic guidelines. For benevolence, we have to mandate real impact statements, invest in AI for the public goods. For righteousness, empower ethical review boards with the veto power to make sure hold ourselves to a higher standard than legality. So this we have to make sure the governance always is maintaining according to 5 constant virtues. For the governance, of course, one of the key elements very important is propriety. This have to institutionalize value-laden rituals like a mandatory ethical reviews. For wisdom, of course, we need use AI itself for strategic forecast, what will be happen in future, and also from different culture perspective, see the different value system, and to see how we can really maintain the balance. But more important is integrity. So we make sure public commitments and protect the whistleblowers to ensure accountability. Nowadays, probably you know that in China, the Chinese government just fined to penalize 8 platform companies for those really black box. You know that is try to transfer the order from online to those unlicensed cake makers. So this is a typical way in that. So those using AI system to take advantage of ignorance of the consumers to maximize their profits. This is really one of the way to make sure a company to maintain the integrity. So transition to this model requires really a clear roadmap. So I think there's 5 steps for us really to take. First, establish an ethical foundation with an AI charter. So it's very clear, we make sure it's a very standard charter. And meanwhile, build a governance structure with ethical committee, so which can really make justify what is really good, what is wrong. And next is really embed these values into your technology. So in this case, we can see is the technology as well as the value system in the company, we to make sure how to nicely embed it. Meanwhile, after that, we can proactively deploy AI and to prevent conflicts of interest. I think finally we can collaborate externally to shape a better ecosystems. So these 5 steps, I believe that Rana can help us from these theoretical framework to the actionable points. So I really just now is covered from the conflict resolution and then come to guide AI transition. So if we just circle back, really our initial starting point, that is how the Confucian virtues can help resolve conflicts by reframing them, setting ethical boundaries and the structured process. So we can provide a foresight and also building trust. To such a transition, we can really must build a governance and also around these virtues. So we design AI as a ritualized process and foster harmonious competition. So hopefully, such a concrete implementation plan can be guided for the AI really arrow times. So in the end, we really can try to make sure is the core of core of transformation is changing our view of AI. Traditionally, AI is a tool for really rivalry. But with virtues, it becomes an instrument of harmony. So in validating these values, we think AI could, in future, serve the humanity and also soon a society in a great good. The outcome also just not a risk mitigation, but also a unique and lasting competitive advantage for those who lead the way. So today, I really try to draw a conclusion that AI is a challenger to us, but also our ability to overcome these such challenges also it is possible. And different culture has different value systems. Confucian virtues has provided a proven path. We can take really address for what these virtues can be utilized in our AI times. So I think nowadays really I try to recall is really threefold. Embrace this framework, take the first small step and try to test it, for example. Then someday, I think the future of the AI is a choice, not only a choice, but also about a value we embedded. So we may choose our wisdom, integrity, as well as a harmony. So finally, I just as a conclusion, to achieve harmony, key 5 Chinese constant virtues should be applied. So this is really the starting point of Confucians. That has a benevolence and righteousness, propriety and wisdom and integrity. So these are the short, briefly share with you. In China we call it cut a brick to attract the jade. Okay, I hope right now we can more about the discussion about area. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Victor. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, Ellen and the Royal Asian Society. Also, my heartfelt thanks to the Yates Center for giving us the chance to share a few insights into AI and ethics. And what I want to do is to share a process which is going on for quite some years, how to create a new paradigm, especially in the age of AI and cutthroat markets, and involving, I would say, thousands of young economists. See, I've been invited to be in this process. There were also Nobel Prize winners, but the key drivers were young economists. So you may easily recognize this movie, movie specialists among you. So grossing about $400 million. So it's the Wolf of Wall Street. And I watched this movie on the one aspect. Is there any experience I'm not familiar with? Now dealing with a lot of case studies. So all these experience of the Wolf of Wall Street is perfectly familiar with me, I can say. So, and I was teaching in about 30 business schools. So the challenge is this really the dominant model? Or put it maybe someone like Donald Trump is really the model for business schools? Or is there really a chance to develop in convincing ways a new model oriented to the common good? So that's what the challenge we were facing, and also recently traveling in different Asian cities like Manila, Tokyo, talking about if this is possible to share a new paradigm, especially with these chains of AI. That's what I also want to share. I see, of course, the risks of AI, but I see it as a chance to broaden the impact of ethics. and not to leave it as it often like greenwashing or empty rhetoric. So this goes back all the way to October 2020 and involving really a variety of different circles with this challenge: can we have really a roadmap for like-minded institutions? So it's, I think, a fascinating topic, the triangle of humanism, law, ethics. And I would, to all these values you so nicely shared, I would also add the virtue of self-criticism. Instead of putting the blame to others, finger-painting, I think in Confucianism we also appreciate to be self-critical. And of course, when I started, I'm here since 28 years, the main argument against all this was we need 经济发展, was the battle cry, economic growth. So here we have basically, I want to share 3 insights of this new paradigm and feel most welcome after them to challenge us, Victor and me, if you disagree. So now also at Peking University, I'm the program director of Humanistic AI, AI and Applied Ethics. And I think a key way to ground all these values, what Victor explained of Ren, Yi, Li, Shi, and Xin, is in the topic of Confucian entrepreneurship. I think this has really quite an impact in China when you have conferences. There are 3,000 to 4,000 people sincerely thinking, how can we really, in this age of AI and with, of course, cutthroat markets, implement these values. And also to create a culture where people may flourish. So I have these different students, also business students, and one really have convinced we need to change something in order to also create a better business culture. And here we have also the chance for different wisdom traditions. In the Christian tradition, I would suggest this a letter by the former Pope Francis under the title Fratelli Tutti, shares the key vision of a comprehensive social fraternity under the key term of solidarity. And this is also the challenge what we have now, how to deal with AI, as AI is shaping a whole new way of education. And sometimes actually the sense of a failure. Also these Christian schools, before they serve the poor and now maybe just the rich. So I would say how we can cultivate a sense of solidarity and compassion about these people we educate. And for instance, one area of kind of influence on value system is from Christian and also, for instance, Jesuit schools. Take just when I come from Hong Kong, so most people would not be Christian, but the church has a lot of credit because the church has invested a lot in education. So therefore, even in the case of Jesuit higher educations, there's a research in these Jesuit institutions across Asia, they may have also an impact in changing a certain paradigm. And of course, it's grounded in the whole person development. The second one is the common good entrepreneurship. We were also struggling what is an appropriate terminology, so I wanted to avoid capitalism because we have always this kind of ideological ring. And also to challenge people who usually come from privileged background to make a social analysis. That, I think, is a major challenge and also which can change the way to look at things. For instance, in Manila, there are excellent social exposure programs so that people who come from where richer families have a chance to share the life of poor families. So, and I think this is just also a life-changing experience. A kind of model was the economy of communion by Chiara Lubich. So it's grounded in a Foucault's movement, because also what we have to struggle with AI is just we are breaking up in very individualistic life patterns. Communion becomes just an empty word. And I think also friends I know in this movement, I think they have something to share. And obviously, it's also what we have to learn a lot from Islamic forms of communitarianism. It's also colleagues working on the poorest in Bangladesh. Also there, I would say Islamic finance is very developed in this economy of communion. And then also, I think the key issue is to share what we mean by human rights. So in China, I think there was the debate on the Wenquan and also what they put on the dignity. They say what you Westerners put on the human rights, we mean on the dignity. And I think also the key is to constantly refer to case studies, otherwise it also becomes empty words. And finally, this legal track of well-being for all, I always try to be in dialogue with what we call the hard-boiled Chicago boys, these economists, and also learn from them, because there is a lot to learn about what is incentive, what is a way to blow the whistle. So, for instance, what I learned from these Chicago friends is the advocatus diaboli. So, when you really want to lodge a complaint, you need to have somebody in the board who is qualified to investigate about your grudges. So, it's not just you want to denounce your colleague, but somebody could have actually the chance to voice his criticism. And here also we have to clearly state Chinese labor law has whistleblowing since 30 years, anchored in the law. Or another, I think, concept is functional overlapping competing jurisdictions by Bruno Frey and Rainer Eichenberger, is that in order to be efficient, you have not to kind of stick to national boundaries, but to have other jurisdictions in order to properly kind of deal with problems. And here is also one key insight I shared. I felt also deeply enriched by Indian wisdom traditions. I think still what Victor shared and what Tagore shared in a groundbreaking article on the crisis of civilization is still, not to put it nicely, not really valued in Western academia. So I like to refer to Tagore, who I think was ahead of time when he argued that now it's the time of Asia, the Asian wisdom traditions. And I do think there is a lot to learn when we look for changing a paradigm, when we discern how to better use AI. And it happened, of course, to Tagore. After receiving the Nobel Prize, he kind of fell in deep depression because he felt people do not understand him. But now I think we have a chance to understand him, also this holistic approach to wisdom, and to combine it with management. So I leave it like this. Thank you very much, and I look forward to your questions and our debate. Thank you.